Today's show is about impact investment. What is the impact mindset for the younger generations, for the consumers, for business leaders, for business founders, for politicians, and for state leaders? So today's show is going to be very special because we will touch different aspects of impact, which is the latest trend in business, in marketing, and is related to social, environmental, and governmental change. So, how do you drive change with impact? Businesses that drive impact, behavior of the customers that drives impact. Today's show is a very special one, and I'm having a very interesting and meaningful conversation with Simona Gemeneanu, the co-founder of Morphosis Capital. This is a private equity from Romania. Simona has worked abroad in the UK, in France, and in big corporations, and is now sharing her journey to impact investment as a passion, as a direction, and as a new trend that we are exploring in today's show. Simona, welcome to Kulbawana Mudura. Welcome. I'm very happy to have you here. Tell us a bit about yourself. For me, it was a great surprise to meet you and to find out about you and your passion for social impact, but I would like you to introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Juana, and thank you for inviting me. I think what defined me all my entire career is two things: trusting people and ethics. And I think the values are at the level and the most important thing somebody should apply in their day-to-day life, and not only, but in their careers as well. I started my career 20 years ago in PwC Romania, in audit, where I worked for 3 years, and then I moved abroad. I did an MBA at London Business School, and then I worked for 10 years in London for two big companies, IKEA and Thomson Reuters, in corporate development roles, strategy and corporate development roles. 6 years ago, I decided to come back home. A crazy idea after so many years spent abroad. The reason being twofold. One, I wanted to have something more entrepreneurial. And I thought this is the place where I could apply most of the things I learned abroad, and also my two core skills, creativity and analytical mind. And we started because when I moved back, and not many people know about this, when I moved back in Romania, I knew two people in Bucharest because most of my colleagues either I lost touch with or they went abroad, unfortunately, most of them. So when I came back, I knew two business people in the business environment. So I started together with my husband in 15 square meters in Regus. And we were thinking, what are we doing next? So we started a buy-side M&A advisory firm for private equity funds wanting to invest in Romania because most of our network was abroad. We did this for 3 years, but soon after we came, we saw an opportunity to raise a small cap private equity fund. So we a year before we raised the fund at the end of 2018, we started fundraising and we raised Morphosis Capital, which is a small cap fund focused on SMEs in Romania. Since then, I'm in this journey and I enjoy it very much. And I became even more passionate about impact investing. And I'm very happy that most of the funds, even though impact investing started with the developmental agencies, kind of IFC, EIF, EBRD, supporting developing economies started to become mainstream even in developed countries. I, for one, read an interview with the founder of Equite, one of the biggest funds in Europe, the Swedish fund. He was saying that they have two criteria for when selecting investments, two criteria they never discount, and these are sustainability and digitalization. And I thought this is very interesting because indeed with the very rapid pace of change in technology, and if you are not up to date with digitalization, and if you don't, you can be disrupted very easily. And if you are not in line with sustainability, SDG goals and so on, again, your business will not survive in 10, 20 years time. So this is in a nutshell. Sorry for the long answer. This is me, and thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah.
My pleasure. It's a great opportunity to talk on this subject, which is becoming more and more mainstream today in the business environment and also in the marketing environment. I'm coming from the marketing environment, and I wanted to have a point of view from somebody who is investing in sustainable businesses and somebody who's especially passionate about impact. But first of all, before going into a more detailed discussion about impact, let's define impact. What is impact? Why is it on everybody's agenda? How is it different from ESG? And how does it help business? So what's impact?
Impact is actually something that the definition was very confusing, and there were many definitions of impact investing. And I think the common understanding is that in order to have impact investing strategy, you need to have an intent to contribute to measurable positive social and environmental impact alongside the financial returns, so that the financial returns are not sufficient, that you need to have the intent to have a social impact, environmental impact, and this becomes measurable. And that's where it's very difficult because there was until recently, I think there was no common view on how you measure impact, and it's actually very difficult to measure impact because it's not only about quantitative factors but also qualitative factors. I think IFC and EIF and EBRD are trying to have a framework for measuring this impact in a more comparable basis. Otherwise, we'll remain with the claims of impact, because that's, I think, one of the biggest dangers of impact investing. Some leaders don't walk the talk. They don't choose the right role models. They talk about impact, but they don't breathe it. Yeah, they don't live and breathe it. So, which means that people, when they hear about impact investing, like it was for CSR and so on, say, yeah, sure, we know about this, but they don't actually do it. They don't walk the talk. Yeah. That's why I think the impact investing has to become more a mindset. And in order to have a mindset of impact investing, you need to start very early. You need to start in your family, in your choice of friends, choice of role models, how you lead the teams, how you reward the leaders in the team. Because it's one thing you invest only in companies that have an impact investing agenda if at home you reward only financial returns. Yeah. So it's alignment of values in the organization and with portfolio companies. I think that's very important.
So you're
Sorry,
saying...
I don't know if I deviated a little bit the question.
No worries. You're saying that in order to have a really meaningful impact, first of all, as a business, you need to connect purpose with profit. And then to have a sustainable impact, you need to develop an impact mindset to ensure the continuity and to implement that in your everyday life, like in the choice of friends, in the choice of mentors, leaders, the companies that you work with. So to develop a mindset of impact. This is a very interesting approach. I like it very much, and I agree. The you become the sum of the people that you surround yourself with. They say that you are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. You become that. Also, the workplace affects you. So every environment basically puts the imprint on your personality.
It shapes you, actually. Yeah.
You become the result of your environment. What you're saying is that in order to have a sustainable impact, not only brands are responsible, not only companies are responsible, but the consumers as well. So they should start.
I totally agree.
On the bottom of the society, and it should start in the family.
It's the education, and I very much salute the fact that my son is coming from his school and he tells me, Mama, why do you leave the shower so much? You are showering such a long period of time because you consume a lot of water. And I was like, I never thought about it, but he's right somehow. So, and he was actually imprinted with this 3 principle, use, recycle. From the age of, I think, 4 or 5 in school, he was taught this. Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's what he was saying all the time. And I think that's very nice, and we should actually expand this in teaching in school our kids, because kids can change also the mentality of the adults when they come home, and you need to explain to them why you are not doing it. And I think that's very important. And I think that's the future, because impact investing will not become mainstream overnight. It's a process. And in order to be sustainable, to create sustainable impact, we need to be sure that we embed in our culture the new generation way of thinking. And I'm very happy that the new generation, on the investor side or on the companies, I see lots of initiatives in backing up impact investing. And when I talk about this, it's family offices. It's a change in ownership of family offices. The old generation went to retirement, they left their money to the kids. Kids are highly educated, went to big schools. So the world had another, they are more prone to respond to climate change requirements. So they started to invest in, and they're not looking only for financial returns, because they had the wealth already. So they are looking more for purpose. So and impact. So I think that's very good, because if the investor pool understands that you don't need to, that's the other thing. There's a misconception that if you have impact, you have low returns. And that's because people think that you compromise returns to have impact, which is not true. You can have high returns and you can have high impact. And I think with the changing generations and the fact that more money will be poured in impact investing funds, it's a good thing, actually, because there will be more opportunity to invest in companies which have an impact agenda. On the other side, on the founder side, I see lots of initiatives. Even in Romania, I saw companies that are trying to, they are very niche for the timing and very small. That's one of the barriers to say in impact investing. There are many funds available, but there's a shortage of opportunities to invest in terms of size and the clear measurable impact that you can have, because that's the other thing. So I think there are good signs, but it's a process, and Romania needs to catch up on so many fronts. But I think we have now a chance with the relaunch of the country with a new wave of funding for reconstruction. So I think if we choose right the role models, if we invest in the right things like education and healthcare and so on, we can and reward them beyond financial returns. I think we can have 20 years that will be an enhancement the past 30 years.
So yeah. It's a 20-year strategy. It's
I would say we'll catch up hopefully in 20 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the vision is to have impact through business and through the behavior of consumers and through the behaviors in society, because
and of leaders, leaders, at every level. We are leaders in many respects. We don't need titles to be leaders. We
yes, I agree. Yeah. So it has to start at home, maybe in school, with recycle, reuse, repair, put back into the system mentality. I see this more and more present in circular economy, and we will have the packages that will stimulate the companies. And I see timid initiatives of circular economy education, but this will have to grow into impact education. Yes, it has to start with the younger generations, which will educate the older generations. It has to be a group of forces joined together, states, the municipalities, and together with the consumers, because in the end, I like the fact that everybody's blaming the companies, they're polluting, but who's buying from the companies? I mean, who's supporting them? I like the fact that the final power is in the end of in the hands of the consumers, and that they vote each time they buy a product. So the impact mindset that you are talking about, indeed, it is a lifelong process, but in the next 20 years, we can hope to see some results.
Indeed, it's a matter of personal choice, and we make so many choices every day. When you choose, I don't want to talk brands, I really don't want to, but you choose a brand that doesn't have an impact agenda over one that conserves the planet, and you make it unconsciously because you are used to it, that's why I think we have also you as a media professional, you also have a very big role to educate the people in what sustainability means and what is it. That's why I'm very happy you invited me for this talk, because I think it's a very good initiative for journalists to take on and talk more openly about and the impact of their brands and the responsibility of the consumer and the family and the education and how they shape the future for the entire planet in the end. Yeah.
I was reading the other days Ecological Intelligence from Daniel Goleman, and he emphasizes a lot the life cycle assessment of the product, like how was this made? And I think a first step in educating the younger generation is to look at a product and just wonder, how was this made? And what's the impact that it has? So how was this made? It should be the basis of a mindset of impact.
And what workforce did it use? Did it use a workforce that was actually kids 5, 7 or 8 years old that were supporting their families, and instead of going to school or playing or reading or other stuff, or are they destroying the rainforest, or there are so many topics that we don't know. Actually, when we look at the product, we buy it because it's nice, it's a good value for money, or it's a good brand, but we don't know what's behind it. And that's why I think we as society need to be more informed, and to pay attention to the fact that a product, a shiny product, might not be exactly the promoter of our values. Yeah.
Simona, let's take an example. Let's make this very practical. If a kid looks at a phone, it doesn't matter what brand it is. It's a shiny object. It's a must for kids, so they cannot live without it, so to speak. So if they look at a product, they wonder, how was this made? What should they look at more exactly?
They should look at many things. They should look how much the product costs versus the price of the product. Mm-hmm. If the product was made in China and there were kids, Chinese kids that built it, and they're working in the factory at a very young age, underage for working actually, to be very efficient and for salaries that are not the market, black market and so on. I would like to know this, and I would explain to the kids that look, this product serves a need, but needs to have a correct price with the labor and so on. And because actually the correct price is set by the market. The market sets the price. But the cost, companies always look for efficiencies, but there are good efficiencies and there are bad efficiencies. Mm-hmm. Bad efficiency in terms if you compromise on the labor cost, so using staff and paying them under the minimum wage, as opposed to people doing, for instance, efficiencies in automating some of the processes through technology and digitalization and so on. So I would look at this. Then I would look, what about this phone? What is happening with this phone when it's broken? Is it plugged in is it a secondary market for it, a circular economy kind of? Because now there are many platforms that use the phones. So I'm very interested to see Apple, for instance, has an Apple. I said I will not talk about the brands, but there is a Apple approved, certified secondary market. They repair them and they put them back in the market.
And the question for kids would be, what happens after I stop using this phone, right?
Exactly. What happens with this phone after? Do they drop it in the bin, and where is it going from there? Is somebody recycling it? Is it and so on? So that would be one of the questions I would ask the kid. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes, you did. We're talking about the impact mindset, and we're going into layers from kids to consumers, to grown-ups, from millennials to Z generation to
right.
Whatever the age, it doesn't matter. What is the mindset of the consumer? So we take this step a bit further. Can we ask more questions, like when we go into the store, into the market, wherever, like we look at a product, should we wonder, okay, how was this made and what was the impact on the environment? Should we check labels? Should we do more research on I don't know, maybe with QR codes, to scan the QR codes, see how was that product made, and to check the ingredients, how are the ingredients sourced. So like what would be
sourcing? For food it's very important, the sourcing, and the cosmetics as well. What are they doing to produce that cream in the end? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to change the myth of a conditioner, but conditioner is 99% water, yeah, so 1% grease. So so I'm looking at the packaging, shiny packaging, and I'm thinking, why do I pay 50 lei, or I don't know how much is a conditioner? Sorry, I usually buy bulk, so I don't know the price per item. But let's say it has a price tag, a conditioner, and I'm looking at the shiny package, and I know that 90% of the cost is the packaging, actually. So
And the brand.
and the brand, indeed, and the packaging, the brand, okay, it's fine, it's an investment, it's from the company and so on, but the packaging, you have to look at the packaging from the perspective, can it be recycled, what does it do to the environment, is the packaging actually so necessary? I'm paying so much money for the packaging, and then it's thrown and it pollutes the environment, so I don't see the point. So yeah, so and I think most of the brands understood this, because there's a huge investment from the companies on sourcing, on the supply chain, on the packaging. So every respectable brand company is investing heavily into this. So I think the world is changing. Yeah,
it's definitely changing. And yeah, as you said, sustainability and digitalization are the main directions for the business. Okay, so we went from kids to consumers, adult consumers. Now let's go to startup founders. Somebody who wants to start a business. How should they think of the model of the business? Like, okay, we know the old economy, how how the traditional economy functions. Now, what are the new rules for sustainability development goals? What are the new rules for a business with huge impact? Like, what is the model?
yeah. So I think now, if I'm looking at an investor, I'm looking for companies that can build scale, and it's normal, because scale equals bigger financial returns, but equals bigger impact as well. So we are looking at things in startups that can be scalable, and to create an impact at the level of the community, if not at the level locally, not internationally, if you cannot. For instance, I saw a company in Romania that you might know of, which I think it's incredible, and they have so much potential. It's Brio, yeah. Brio is a company that is standardizing tests for children in Romania. Mm-hmm. And I think that's brilliant. And they started small. They have subscription for kids, so it's B2C. They don't sell to schools. I think it's B2C. I don't think they sell to schools. That it's B2C, I know for sure. And the kids, there are so many kids that enroll to this, because they can know where they are on the curve. Yeah, where am I compared to the level I should be at on the 7th grade or on the 4th grade? And that's something that in the US and in the Western world it's done through SAT, GMAT, and so on at different levels. It was done for years, 100 years maybe. But in Romania it was not done. And I thought, what a nice initiative. And then they even exceeded, because I follow them on Facebook. I don't know, all I know is from Facebook. And the second thing they've done, it's they created a school, I don't know how to say it in English, a school that helps you come at the right level for summer school. So școala remedială de vară se cheamă. So it's a school that helps kids that need to come to the right level. And they gave it free of charge, and they have over 2,000 kids over summer that called. Some of them, not the parents wanted them to come, they wanted to come, and it's online, it's all online. And then I'm thinking about this, and I thought, I don't know how much of this is replicable international. So if somebody's looking for a huge scale, becoming an international setup, I don't know, because I didn't look at the business model and so on. But in the community they create a huge impact. And I think that's wonderful. And it's education, it's removing the access to education barriers for the underserved. They give, for instance, free of charge subscriptions for people that, or they can pay in installments. So that they can come, because and I think it's very nice of what they are doing. I think if a bank could actually help them, I don't know if they are looking for this, but for instance, when they give installments to kids, underprivileged kids, I was thinking that maybe it would be a good thing for a bank to finance them, because they still have to bear the cost of operation, the platform, the people behind the platform and so on. And this could help them reach even more underprivileged kids, to finance this gap in, so that they can afford, even though the price is low. So I think that's an example of business that is very dear to me, and I think they're doing a brilliant job. But there are others. There are others that do microsere, for instance. I saw, again, it's a niche concept, but it's people can grow their herbs at home, and so it's really starting to be more in the minds of the founders to have impact and not. And I think what a shift would be in Romania. I think that's the old school. What you're talking about, the old school. In Romania, many founders in the past wanted to have a huge amount of money overnight. Hence different approaches to making money. I think once the founder makes the realization that a sustainable money making comes hand in hand with sustainable businesses, it will be a different approach to impact also. If you know what I mean.
Can the B corporation model of business be an opportunity to analyze and to implement? The B corporation, B Corp.
B Corp. Yeah.
Yes. Can that be a model that they can study and see the ways that others are doing?
Like, yes, of course,
of course. That model, I've seen it implemented in almost every sector of businesses, from software service to manufacturing jewelry. So
indeed.
Can be universally applied.
And by the way, I forgot to mention this. I saw that Standards and Poor's, for instance, and I think other agencies are now giving ESG ratings to companies, which ratings. Sorry?
ESG ratings. This is a new thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and I thought that's interesting, and we can invest as a hedge fund. We are not a hedge fund; we are a private equity fund. But you can invest as a retail investor, so in companies that have ESG ratings, and I think that's something that will change the approach of the retail investors to their portfolio investment.
So ESG rating is a step further from B Corp.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you would have the impact assessment, which needs to have a common ground from all authorities involved, right? Because I've seen a lot of companies having their own metrics regarding the social, the environmental, the corporate impact of the company, but there's still no common ground, just like for finding a common ground for measuring distance. We're still in the same phase, right? So we need to find a common KPI. It's a common metric for the impact that we have.
And for impact scoring and balanced scorecard, it's something that I think the developmental agencies like IFC is working for, standardizing the KPIs so that you can compare actually because the funds of funds or pension funds, when they want to invest, most of them take into consideration the ESG impact. In order for them to compare, you need to compare apples with apples and not apples with oranges. So I think, it's the biggest challenge to have common KPIs and to be capable of quantifying some more qualitative factors and impacts.
And also in the marketing for the companies, it's great to have a fixed common ground and to have a universal common ground for measuring impact, because you can communicate your impact to the consumers, to the community in a standardized way, so everybody can understand it. And it's it's a tool that will help the leading brands leading the way on this uncharted territory, because it's a bit uncharted. It's a combination of CSR, of NGO, of good old school traditional business. So it's everything mixed together, profit and purpose. And it's still in discovery phase because it's a journey, as you said. It's not yet a destination. And the ones who will reach the destination fastest will share good practices, probably, and show the way to the others.
Very true.
I'm curious, you as a co-founder of a private equity, how do you evaluate businesses from the impact point of view? So how do you look at a business? What are the aspects that you take into consideration?
It's very difficult because first of all, I think where we don't compromise is the founder. We have to be aligned in the values. Okay. So I think that's the first thing that we are doing. If we are not aligned in terms of values with the founder, then it's a no deal. Then in terms of we are looking for impact in terms of businesses. For instance, we invested in Medima, which is imaging for oncology patients. So and we are trying, it has also a technology arm where we are trying to shorten the time and to improve the accuracy of reading this imaging through technology, so that you can scan the patients earlier and identify earlier the problems so that they can be cured instead of shortening their lives. Then we have a company that it's actually in digitalization, the process, which is actually enabling companies of removing paperwork and so on. So it has an impact on the environment, obviously. Plus, it purposes the employees, the controllers, more value-added jobs, and so improves retention of employees as well, because that's a big thing. I read an article, that's a side talk that we might touch on later on. I read an article that in US, in UK survey run by a big company, and 40% of the employees want to resign from corporate jobs in the next year. I thought it's incredible. So staff retention is a big problem. This is post-COVID because people are thinking more and more about the wellness, health, freelancing, having more flexibility, more time with the family. But this comes also from impact. This is the new consumer that is looking more, but not self-centered in the wrong point of view, from the wrong point of view, more focus on own needs, and family needs and friends and so on. which I think it's something that we'll see more and more in I'm jumping from one thing to another. Sorry about that, but there are so many nice things to talk about. So I was talking about improving staff retention without process by repurposing employees to more value-added jobs. And Dr. Lahu, the other company we have in our portfolio, is trying to increase the patient's education for dental health. Yeah, which I think it's something that is very important. And unfortunately, in our country, many of the people put their health at the end, especially in the older generation, preferring to improve their house, to refurbish, to buy a new car, and so on, and not focusing on dental health and so on, and postponing and having huge problems after that. So that's the purpose of. But coming back to your question about how we evaluate the impact in the companies we are looking for. So I said the first thing is the founder is the biggest peak. Then you go to
be
see
aligned with the values of founders.
Yeah, alignment of the values. Yeah,
on the same page.
Yeah, and this doesn't mean you'll not have disagreements, but you need in big things to think alike. Otherwise, for instance, I will never invest in a business where the founder has a different way of doing business than us. Yeah, so meaning I know unfair competition or having unfair competition practices and so on. We will not do that. So and you can identify this through negotiation. All the negotiation of the deal, everything comes out. Yeah. So the real face, because you can fake it for a while, but when you negotiate, you know how you stand with the person.
Is culture a thing that you look at?
The culture of the organization, the founder in the business we invest in, they are very small. So they are companies that don't have a management layer, so they are very much founder-led. So the culture follows the founder. Yeah. So yeah, it's something which is very important. But what we do, it's also construction work, because we need to professionalize these businesses and prepare them for the next level of growth, which means that you need to put a new management layer between the founder and the rest of the employees, which can be very disruptive for the organization. So that's why you need to be aligned with the founder for the values, because you need his support, because his personality is so much embedded into the culture of the organization. If you don't have their support, the company will become non-performing. Yeah.
And they will not have the vision, the North Star to direction. I wanted to ask you about the benefits of conceiving an impact business model. So what would be the benefits for a business? You mentioned before the retention and the engagement, a higher rate of engagement and retention of employees. They would feel more satisfied, and it would align with their values. So people, not only consumers, but also employees, choose companies because of their values and because they think
more and more. If 20 years back when I graduated, we were choosing, there were 5-6 multinationals in Romania, maybe 10, and we're choosing, where do I work? Higher salary, higher promotion, higher training opportunities. This was the only agenda my peers and myself included had. I think more and more the new generations have choice, which is good. It transformed so much into an employee market. And I think companies that don't keep pace with the changes in impact mentality, mindset, they will not be able to survive, and they'll have very high departures. Yeah, rate of departure.
Normal, Simona. This is the new normal, to embed the purpose in the business development strategy. Is this a new normal?
The new normal. I didn't understand the full question. Yeah, it's the new normal. I would say it's a new mainstream. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to the next layer of the impact mindset, the leaders. How should the leaders of the society, political, civic leaders, think in terms of impact?
I think they should walk the talk, the proper, and put the right people in at the right place. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you as a leader don't try to lead by example, you have a very short life. And this is not only in the political life, but also in the life of the corporation. Leaders that are not genuine, that don't live up to their promises, have a very short life in the company. Because trust, you lose it once in your life and in your career. And it's the same with ethics. I think it's binary. If it's black or white. And if you have unethical behavior, or you say something and you do the opposite, immediately you are discounted by the employees, consumers, organizations, shareholders, investors, all the stakeholders in the end, banks, and so on. So that's why I think the leaders in society should walk the talk. And unfortunately, and it's not only in Romania, it's in the entire world, politicians seem more more concerned about their own PR and their own personal agendas than what they promise. They forget very quickly what they promised to the people, and they don't walk the talk always, or most of the times actually. So, and I think that's the biggest risk and barrier to impact investing becoming mainstream. Because I think if you are a person that has as role model a politician or a singer, and they don't walk the talk, there's a saying in Romania where e bine și așa, se poate și așa. It's possible like this too. So this becomes the mainstream actually. So I don't say we should be perfectionists, but we should aim to keep our word. I think that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What about states? What about public institutions? How can they adopt an impact mindset to support consumers to buy responsibly, to support and encourage businesses to produce responsibly, and to further educate the public?
Yeah, invest in education, and I would put ESG education in schools.
ESG is very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's very important, like personal financing and so on. I think we are very far away, but ESG education in schools should become mandatory from the very early stage when you form the people, the kids. Then I think through public policies to give grants to companies that want to have impact, because I think many founders have good ideas, but they lack the financing. And if they don't have assets as guarantees, they cannot take a loan from the banks. So they need grants for this. Then pass the laws and harmonization with the European laws for ESG impact. I know for sure, I will not name here, I don't want to criticize anybody, but they are the fields, domains in which we surpassed the time limit to converge to European standards, like recycling and so on. Yeah. And I think that's something that we should not discount in passing laws. And as I said, choosing the right role models and being the walk the talk leaders. Yeah.
What about influencers? What about
write more and more about brands that do good things, and penalize those that be true to yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Simona, I like to ask every guest about a book recommendation. It's like the most important book. I know that there is no such thing, because there are so many beautiful books that change our mentality and change us structurally. But one book that influenced you and changed your view in a way that very few books do, what would you recommend us?
I am not I have to reckon, I'm a person that used to read a lot. Now I can blame the time, I can blame other things. I read much less. I'm more basing the truth on reality than on books, however, and reading articles and so on. However, there were two books that shaped me, one in the past when I was a kid, but I think it's still a good book for adults. And the one that I liked a lot as a professional, because I think it's very true what Angela Duckworth was saying. It's as a professional, I like Read the Power of Passion and Perseverance. And I think because I really think that's if you compare the success of people in different fields, that's only through passion and perseverance you can have sustainable success. Yeah, because we talk about sustainability.
Passion and perseverance, it beats talent.
Passion and perseverance, sorry,
are more important than talent.
They are more important than talent and more than intelligence, I would say.
Oh, wow.
Because I met a lot of intelligent people. Intelligence has many facets. I, for one, am not a practical person at all. I might have different analytical skills, but I'm not practical. I cannot change a bulb. There are people that are very skilled at practical stuff, or there are people emotional intelligent. Yeah. There are many other facets, ecological intelligence, ethical intelligence. Yeah. So there's a lot of facets of intelligence. I think what it is important is to have passion and to be perseverant. Only with this you can achieve your success. And in terms of a book that formed me as a child, and I even was the theme for the christening of my son. It's The Little Prince, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And I think it's still relevant in the respect that adults are still don't see the important stuff. Mm-hmm. And to finish on the note of this subject, we still, even though we saw the evidence, the environment impact, even this summer in so many countries, we still shy away from doing something. Some of us, some are doing great things, but we are somehow in the stream of thinking that there are more important things than this, and looking short-term versus long-term. And I think that's what happened in the past 30 years since we became aware of the environmental impact. And we look more with a short-termism mindset than a long-term mindset. And now the long-term is short-term, so we should become more active in this respect.
You're not the first person who recommends this book, and I find a lot of similarities. A lot of people passionate about sustainability and impact have The Little Prince as a recommendation. It's Really interesting.
Really?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm gonna
interesting. It's a clean planet, that's why, maybe.
One more thing before we finish our talk, I would like you to encourage people who want to start a business or who want to change the model of their business to a sustainable one, to one that produces impact not only for the financial gains, but for the employees, for the consumers, and for the planet.
Entire ecosystem in the end. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What advice do you have?
To follow their passion and to do it with their values. Yeah, I think when you follow your passion, and I think we all, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm in my 40s, early 40s, and I realized that people from my generation started thinking that they wasted their time in different jobs and they follow their passion. So it's more a lot of people that you can say it's the crisis at when you turn 40 or not. But I have a friend that was a banker until recently, and she studied and she became a person that grows and commercializes plants because that's what she wants to do. She's passionate about that. Mm-hmm. So I think when you do it with passion and you follow your values, because we all have a value system from childhood, so it can only have an impact. And I think that's and things follow when you do it with your heart. Things follow.
Yeah, first of all, have an impact in your life. Do follow the joy, right?
Yeah, indeed. Very true. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a great talk.
Thank you.
Full of advice and practical steps for adopting an impact mindset. Simona Gemeneanu from Morphosis Capital. Thank you very much.
Thank you.